Welcome to the LinuxGuy.Guru, and now your host, Jay Benjamin.
Hi, this is Jay Benjamin, and thank you for tuning in to the LinuxGuy.Guru. I am pleased to present the Linux-based computer operating system that has taken the world by storm. If you're new to Linux, you've made an intelligent decision choosing this program. The best advice I will give you is not let the highly technical reputation of Linux discourage you. Many of you listeners who have heard of Linux think that it is found only on servers, looking after websites and email. Nothing could be farther than the truth. Distributions like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Ubuntu Mate, just to name a few, and there are well over 30 distributions that I could name here today, are making huge inroads to the laptop and desktop market. Corporations are realizing the benefits of running a stable and powerful operating system that is easy to maintain and secure. And one of the major advantages of using Linux is that as Linux makes improvements, they're shared freely, allowing you to have the benefit from these improvements with a single update. The best part of using Linux software is that it is free and is legally distributed throughout the world. No copyright lawyers are going to pound on your door at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to give you an example. When you purchase and install software, you must agree to a licensing agreement that states you have only paid to install the software on one specific computer. This means you will not be able to make copies, share, resell, or transfer ownership of the software package. This is not the case with Linux software. You are entirely free to make copies, share copies, and install the software on as many computers as you want. So I encourage everyone listening to pick up a used computer for as little as $200 in some cases and wipe the hard drive clean and install a Linux operating system. You'll be surprised to learn that any of the 3 Linux operating systems I have mentioned have built-in tutorials to learn the operating system. There are many videos on YouTube that you can watch. There is also my website at LinuxGuy.Guru, which will provide instructional videos. And when in doubt, simply Google your question in the search bar and your question will be answered. Learning Linux could not be any easier. So what is Linux? Linux is the core or kernel of a free operating system first developed and released to the world by Linus Benedict Torvalds in 1991. Torvalds, then a graduate student at the University of Helsinki, Finland, is now a fellow at the Linux Foundation, which the website is www.linuxfoundation.org. He's an engineer and previously worked for the CPU design and fabrication company Transmeta Incorporated, before leaving in 2003 to work for Open Source Development Labs, a consortium created by many high-tech companies to support Linux development and which has enabled him to focus on the Linux kernel full-time. Fortunately for all Linux users, Torvalds chose to distribute Linux under a free software license named the GNU General Public License, the GPL. I'd like to mention here that Wikipedia has a free online resource with a great biography for Linus Torvalds that examines his life and notable achievements. You can find it at http://en.wikipedia.org wiki/Linus_Torvalds, Torvalds. The graphic user interface, or GUI as is referred to, is the brainchild of Richard Stallman, the founder of the Free Software Foundation. The GPL is the guiding document for Linux and its ownership, distribution, and copyright. Torvalds holds the rights for the Linux trademark. Both men agree that the software will always be free. Why should you use Linux? Well, let me give you some good reasons why you should be using Linux. Millions of people have been using it for well over 20 years. There are no licensing fees. Linux can be downloaded to multiple computers. Linux can be used on desktop computers or laptops. Linux can be used on server platforms. Linux provides a royalty-free platform. IBM has enabled Linux on its entire line of products. Small business owners can create a network for free. Linux is easy to install. Linux allows you to see code. Linux allows you to change codes. You can get manuals online. So I'd like to give you some reasons why you should switch from Microsoft Windows or Apple to Linux. Linux files do not have to be reduced or defragged. A Windows computer must be defragged or they slow down. Linux computers get very few viruses. There has been only 8 viruses in total since the early 90s. No malware, no spyware, no viruses whatsoever. Linux can update an entire operating system with one click. Linux has better security. Linux has dedicated software centers to download applications, and there are thousands of them. Linux applications are nearly all free with minor exceptions. Linux desktop software is easier to customize. Linux can be downloaded to multiple computers without a fee for a license. Sound quality is better on a Linux. Computer startup is faster on a Linux. Computer shutdown is extremely faster on a Linux. A lot of good reasons to try Linux. And there are many websites and search engines where you can find information on Linux. There are literally thousands of websites that exist with information about Linux and many of its distributions, such as Ubuntu, Linux Mint, or Ubuntu Mate. I have referenced these 3 distributions because of ease of use and user-friendly graphic interfaces. Knowing how to search can mean the difference between frustration and success when troubleshooting problems arise. So invest some time and experiment with your favorite search engine. In my opinion, Google is the best. And joining a local Linux user group, or LUG as they are referred to, will allow you to participate in local Linux user groups. You will receive many benefits. For starters, you'll be able to get help, trade information, and learn many new and wonderful things about Linux. Most LUGs do not have membership dues, and many often sponsor lectures about Linux from leading Linux, GNU, and open source experts. And for the latest versions of documentation, you can go to http://tldp.org, or you can find information on the operating system on your personal PC. It's located there. J. Benjamin says, the difference between knowledge and wisdom is only knowing what to do next. Here in this segment, I'll take you through installing Ubuntu on your computer. The latest version of the software is 16.04 that is available at the present time. And in doing so, we'll be able to do away with your current operating system. I strongly recommend, before embarking on this mission, that you transfer all of your files to an external hard drive or USB flash drive with adequate storage file space. One way to easily get a download of the software is to open up a web browser and go to http://ubuntu.com/downloads, DOWNLOADS, to get the latest version of the Ubuntu operating system, which is, at this time, as I mentioned, Ubuntu 16.04. Depending on how old your computer is that you're using, you'll need to select the 64-bit version. An older computer may require using the 32-bit processor operating system for systems that use a maximum of 4 GB of memory. The next step is to download the ISO image to your downloads folder. Upon doing so, place a blank DVD into the tray, then go to the downloads folder and right-click on the ISO image, example, Ubuntu 16.04. Following the directions, you should be able to burn the ISO image to the DVD. After the DVD is created, follow my installation instructions. For Mac OS X, you can use Apple's disk utility, which is installed by default. Right-click the icon for the ISO image and select Write to Disk. After the DVD is created, you can follow my instructions to complete the installation. I strongly recommend not setting your computer up to dual boot. If you're not sure about installing the operating system, then I suggest you try the operating system out first. Take it out for a test drive. I'd like to note here that you also can install Ubuntu using a USB thumb drive that has at least 8 GB of memory. But you must first create the DVD and afterwards place a blank USB into the computer to create a startup disk. I'll begin by explaining how to do the install on a Windows computer. The BIOS, which stands for Bypass Input and Output of System, allows personal computers to support booting directly from a CD, DVD, or USB drive and enables you to set a specific order of devices such as floppy disk, hard drive, CD-ROM, or USB. A word of caution: if you have anything at all on your computer that you want to save, back it up first. Installing an operating system has become easier to do, but it is still a major challenge. I recommend that you use the entire hard drive because all the information on the hard drive will be erased and new information will be written to it. To get started on a Microsoft Windows computer, insert the DVD into your drive and reboot the computer. Holding down one of the function keys, example F1, F2, F9, or the delete key or escape key will get you into the BIOS. Once in the BIOS, you can set the computer to boot from the DVD or USB pen drive. For Apple computers, getting into the BIOS is a little tricky. The steps are as follows. Turn on your Apple PC and insert the newly created DVD. Then restart the computer holding down the Option key. It could take about 15 seconds and you may see an error screen pop up. Just be patient. You'll then see images appear, example, hard drive, Windows, EFI bootloader. Click on the EFI bootloader DVD image. The computer will begin loading the Ubuntu operating system. Before installing the operating system, I recommend that you try Ubuntu and run it from the DVD without making any changes to your computer. So when you're done taking it for a test run, you can remove the DVD and reboot. Everything will be as it was before. If you're comfortable with the operating system, you can choose the option to install. If you click the two boxes at the bottom of the screen, Ubuntu downloads extra software such as multimedia codecs to run your DVD player, and you'll be able to play CDs for music. It will also update any software updates that you may have not had there since the disk was created, and includes them in the installation. Doing so is recommended. If other operating systems are found on your system, you are given the option to install Ubuntu alongside them or to erase them and use the entire hard drive for Ubuntu. Unless you are an advanced user, I recommend that you erase the hard drive and run the entire hard drive on Ubuntu. Dual booting is not advisable for beginners. Only those with a deeper understanding of their systems and setting up partitions should attempt to do this. The installation process itself is fairly straightforward. The initial screen offers a variety of languages for you to choose from during the installation. As I mentioned, you can try Ubuntu or install Ubuntu assuming you have tried it and are ready to go through with the installation. Select the Install Ubuntu button. Before proceeding, double check that your system meets the requirements shown. Check the two boxes at the bottom of the screen and hit the Forward button. A new screen will appear that will ask you how you want the hard drive space allocated. Example, erase and use the entire disk. You're also given the opportunity during the installation to encrypt your home folder, which is where your personal files will be stored. The positive side of encryption is that a password or passphrase must be entered for anyone to access the contents. The downside of encrypting is that they won't be accessible if you forget your password. Consider your needs and choose accordingly. A few quick tips on passwords. When you create your password, have a pencil and paper handy to write down the administrator username that you have chosen and your password. Keep this information in a secure place and do not lose it, because if you forget it, you cannot use your new system because you will not be able to log on to the computer. When setting a password, the common advice is to make sure it has a mixture of letters and numbers to make it more secure. Linux has a well-deserved reputation for being incredibly secure in comparison to operating systems like Windows and Operating Systems X. However, that being said, you can't simply rest on your laurels and assume that your computer is impervious to attack, especially in the wake of security scare stories over the course of the last few years. One of the most important steps in keeping anything secure is to create a very strong password that is difficult to crack. Creating an invincible password is the first step to securing everything. So here are some do's and don'ts of how to create a password. Don't use dictionary words. Don't use phrases. Don't use personal information. Don't use consecutive numbers. Use numbers such as your 2-digit birth year. Use the same password everywhere. Write them down, but keep them hidden. And don't make them too long. Some of the things you should do is use capital letters, numbers, and basic symbols. Reset online passwords on a regular basis. Make sure that it's at least 13 characters long. Run something similar to your password through a password character checker. Hackers are slick and crafty. It doesn't take them long to figure out a password. Let me give you some examples. I'll start out with a password, Benjamin, J Benjamin. It'll take a hacker approximately 2 seconds to crack this password if you're using it online. Let's say I try now, J Benjamin 1. I'll add the 1 to it. It'll take a hacker approximately 15 hours to crack that password. What if I try JB at symbol ENJAMIN and the number 1? It would only take the hacker 3 days to crack that system. Another big jump to 3 days. In theory, most people would give up by now, but as we're dealing with an automated brute force, that won't matter. We're about as secure as we can be with an 8-character password in terms of brute force, and the number 1 at the end is a bit basic. By just making it a 2-digit number, we can further increase the time to crack it. Let's try that. JB@ENJAMIN, the number 1 and then the number 2. The time to crack this password would be 275 days. 275 days is quite a while, but it's still doable for persistent crackers. Adding a symbol or a letter or number to the end of this password will increase its lifespan to 58 years. 58 years is a massively long time for someone to be trying to crack your password without upgrading their hardware and software or simply forgetting about it. So here's an example of an excellent starter password idea. J, B, the @ symbol, EN, J, A, capital M, IN, /, and the number 9. So I would say this could be an excellent password, but you shouldn't be using it on every account that you have. You need to have a list of passwords and keep them secure. And it does matter how long your password will be, because the longer it is, the harder it will be for someone to hack into your system. And remember, change your passwords frequently. Okay, so now we've secured a very strong password. Let's move on with the installation. And while you are answering the questions asked by the installer, the Ubuntu install has already begun to copy files to your hard drive. Performing these tasks in parallel makes the process even faster than it used to be. Now that you have input all the necessary information, you'll see a series of information screens while the installation is completed. These are filled with interesting content about Ubuntu and are worth reading while you wait. When the process is complete, you will be prompted to restart the computer. Do so and remove the install media when it is ejected. Then log in with a secure password when the reboot is complete, and that's it. Let's take a look at the desktop. When you boot your computer, you're going to be logging into a Unity session. You are greeted by the desktop. The screen is made up of many parts, each of which is described here in detail. For an example, the launcher to the left of the screen is a vertical bar. It's called a launcher. There's icons in the launcher, and they represent programs that are either running or which have been set to be included in the launcher at all times. Clicking on an icon will open a program. Right-clicking on the icon will show you additional options, including an option to keep an item in the launcher at all times. On the desktop screen at the far left upper corner is the dash. Click on the dash. A new screen will appear and type in System Settings. Now that you have completed the primary task of installing Ubuntu, you can begin to customize your new operating system. You'll see a list of categories. On top will be Personal, which would have, from left to right, Appearance, Brightness and Lock, Language Support, Online Accounts, Region and Language, Security and Privacy, and Ubuntu One. Below that, you'll see a section for hardware. And below the hardware section, you'll see systems. And you'll see an area for user accounts where you can go in and change passwords or add additional users. And this is something we'll go over later. The dash is the primary way to find programs. And as I mentioned earlier, you'll click the Ubuntu logo at the top of the launcher to open up the dash. Exploring applications in the dash is as easy as typing in the letters A, B, or C. You'll be able to find any application in there, any program or any file, any video, or anything you have stored in there just by following these simple instructions. So as an example, if you're looking to update your software, just type that into the search bar, or if you're looking for specific programs or applications, or if you're in need of more applications or programs, simply type in the Software Center and you'll see the icon appear. Clicking on that will take you to the Software Center where you can get thousands of applications to run your new operating system. How cool is that? There are even smart scopes to provide a better searching experience, and it does so by using the search terms entered to change the set of locations being searched. That is, it changes the scope of the search. By default, Ubuntu includes a number of internal and external search locations when you use the dash. Search terms entered may return results from a user's home directory, the list of applications installed, recently used files, the Ubuntu software repositories, and even sites like Amazon.com. And as an example, we'll search for the Software Center. The Ubuntu Software Center is a graphical utility for package management in Ubuntu, and you'll find it in the Applications menu as Ubuntu Software Center. The package and executable programs is named Software Center. The Software Center enables you to easily select and install a large array of applications by using the intuitive built-in search and easy one-click installation. When you open the program, you'll see the package browsing screen, and it's as easy as finding what you're looking for, clicking on it, and have it install. And the amazing part about the Software Center, there are thousands, literally thousands of applications to choose from, and most all of them are free. Yes, free. And as I mentioned earlier, there are many Linux desktops to choose from. So if after tweaking your system and that maybe you're not entirely happy with your distribution's default desktop environment, then I'll go over some of the mainstream alternatives. Having the ability to alter the desktop environment is as important as being able to alter the default applications. For most desktop Linux users, a desktop environment is the paramount medium for interacting with their distribution. It's the collection of all the graphical elements that you can see on the desktop of the computer, including windows, toolbars, and icons, etc. Desktop environments also include a window manager that's responsible for the appearance of the windows in the graphic user interface, or GUI as it sometimes is referred to. Like all things, Linux and open source users exploit for choice when it comes to selecting a desktop environment. The ability to change and alter the desktop environment is just as important as being able to change and alter the default applications, as I previously mentioned. Most major distributions officially support multiple desktops. For example, Fedora, Mageia, OpenSUSE all support KDE, GNOME, and a number of other desktops. Then there are distros that officially support only a restricted number of desktops, such as Ubuntu, that only supports Unity, and Linux Mint, that prefers Cinnamon and Mate. However, that still doesn't stop us from replacing the official default. Desktop environments have many options. In this segment, we'll look at some of the most popular desktop environments and their advantages. The only one I won't be mentioning would be Ubuntu's Unity, which we've just installed. You can switch to another desktop environment without going through the pains of changing to a new distro. For all intents and purposes, a desktop environment is just another piece of software, and you can install it as you would any other. Every desktop in this segment is supported by almost all distros, so they're just a visit to the package manager away. GNOME is the default desktop environment on many popular distros. The Fedora, Mageia, and OpenSUSE projects all release and officially support installation live CD. DVD version based around the GNOME desktop. In fact, GNOME was also default on Ubuntu until it started using its own shell. However, Ubuntu does still use the core GNOME 3 libraries. Next up on the popularity list is KDE. OpenSUSE, Mageia, and Fedora are some of the top distros that officially support the desktop and produce an installable live DVD/CD image based on KDE. If you prefer the KDE desktop on top of Ubuntu, you can grab the Kubuntu distribution. Some distros, such as Linux Mint, include multiple bundles of all desktops with a different package, such as KDE-Standard and KDE-Full. Cinnamon is a default environment that ships with the Linux Mint distro that also spearheads its development. The desktop is available in the official repositories of Fedora, Mageia, and Ubuntu, and you can install it via their respective package managers. Mate, one of my favorites, has carved a name for itself among distros that are designed for older computers. And once you've installed multiple desktop environments, you can easily switch to another one. To do this, just log out of the desktop environment, then tinker with the buttons on the Login Manager, and one of them will reveal a drop-down list of all the installed desktops. Select the one you want to use, and the Login Manager will log you into the desktop. And you can also use any operating system as a live DVD and use it for as long as you like. Try it before installing it. There is also a way to create a virtual box for advanced users where you can have them running in a virtual machine within your computer without having them running on the operating system itself. So there's a pretty cool things you can do with Linux distributions. There are many to choose from, just like there are many flavors of Baskin-Robbins ice cream. Why limit yourself? So let's talk about appearance, or eye candy as I sometimes call it. What will give you the best desktop experience? Before Unity and GNOME 3 came out, the Ubuntu and Fedora distros dominated desktop options, but their respective new releases took desktop environment designs in a controversial new direction, re-imaging the desktop to the next generation of computer devices that didn't use the trusted mouse and keyboard combination. In accommodating new touch devices, both desktop environments alienated a huge group of desktop users who were suddenly forced to learn new ways of interacting with their computers. And as a result, Mate and Cinnamon were both born out of this controversy. But, as is usually the case with open source software, in both times Unity and GNOME 3 have become malleable enough to win back some of the old audience. However, what sets them apart from each other is how they look and how you operate them, because they are all customizable. I'll begin by discussing Cinnamon, and this has been given a 5-star rating. Cinnamon is the other desktop environment that sticks to the standard desktop metaphor and came into existence as a result of the community's dissatisfaction with GNOME 3 and Unity. The Cinnamon desktop is a standard fare with an icon-laden desktop and a panel at the bottom which shows notifications alongside a list of open windows and an applications menu in the bottom left corner of the screen. Like Mate, the Cinnamon application menu is a refresh of the standard menu and extends the categorized text-driven layout of the traditional menu with usability features borrowed from other environments, such as the favorite apps bar. It also has widgets that you can place on your panel as well as on the desktop. There's also an expose like Hot Corner feature that presents an overview of open windows. And giving out 4 stars here for Mate. The Mate desktop is a fork of the GNOME 2 desktop and mimics its look to the letter. Linux Mint's Mate looks different and ships with a panel at the bottom and an application launcher on the left. Clicking on the launcher reveals a 3-pane application menu. In the first pane, you get quick looks to places and system tools, including the package manager. In the second pane, you get the typical software categories such as accessories and Office. You can click on any one of these to reveal its contents. In the third pane, many of the items in these panels are just controlled via plugins that you can easily turn off from the panel preferences. You can create icons and shortcuts on the desktop and place files and folders there as well. You can also add a panel on top and add applets. And giving 4 stars is KDE. In contrast to GNOME, the KDE desktop is a malleable shell that's all about customization. The default layout and behavior of the desktop and the kickoff app launcher will make you feel even comfortable with it, even if you're not a non-Linux user. KDE ships with different views designed to make the best of available desktop real estate for regular screens and netbooks, and doesn't force the user to stick to either. The default layout is the desktop view, which encourages you to use desktop widgets, and you can also add widgets to the panel. Most distros place the folder view widget on the desktop to display the contents of a folder in a neat little box that you can place anywhere on your screen. The new release features flatter icons, and its activities feature is now more accessible and configurable. Next on my list on this review is GNOME 3. We'll give that 3 stars. GNOME 3 has a revolutionary user interface that still takes some getting used to, and I'll note here that its apps look best when viewed in full screen and run inside windows that lack a minimize button. The desktop begins with Activities Overview, which gives you access to installed apps and has a launcher-like favorites bar for pinning frequently used apps. The workspace switcher is folded in the right-hand corner of the screen and always lists an additional workspace. Switching to a second workspace and adding windows will automatically add the third workspace. At the top is a search box that matches strings to apps and documents stored locally or linked through online services. Omissions that will jar with traditionalists are the inability to fill the desktop with icons and the lack of an option menu when you right-click on the desktop. So now we'll talk about performance of the 3. Which starts up the fastest and shuts down the fastest? Well, in my opinion, I'd have to give it to Mate. In second place would be the Linux Mint Cinnamon, and the third place I would give that to GNOME. So by far, the Mate and the Cinnamon are the fastest to start up and to shut down. We'll note here an important criteria is also the age of the hardware that you're using it on, because newer desktops will accelerate much faster than older computers. So keep that in mind when making your determination as to which one is the best and which one will give you the best performance. And different keystrokes for different folks. So I'll just add that in there. And next I'd like to talk about extensions and add-ons. Ubuntu Unity has thousands of add-ons and extensions you can add, similar to Linux Mint and Mate. So the Ubuntu Mate as well has everything that the others two have. My personal preference would be the Ubuntu Mate. Configurability would be next. Are they tweakable? Yes, they are. Tied for first place would be Linux Mint and also Ubuntu Unity and the Ubuntu Mate. So they're all very good when it comes to tweakability. It's a matter of taking the time to customize your systems. There are many, many options that you can find. You can spend hours and days creating a pretty cool environment. You just have to have a little patience in order to do so. Of all the desktop environments that I mentioned, they're all pretty good. A desktop really is about personal preference. It wasn't like everyone ditched GNOME 3 when it debuted its fangled version nor did anyone embrace cinnamon or mate with glee. Each desktop environment is designed with a particular purpose and suits a particular type of Linux user. So which desktop environment operating system is the best straight out of the box? I'd have to say from my experience, I think Linux Mint is by far the best straight out of the box for first-time users. But I do recommend the Ubuntu Unity desktop, which also resembles the Apple environment. So those are some of the things I would say. My personal preference would be the Ubuntu Mate. And so you have to try which one that you like. But by far out of the box, straight up, the answer would be Linux Mint. Linux Mint will remind most of you of Windows 7 or Windows 10. And some of you are probably thinking, what about games? Can I put games on a Linux operating system? Absolutely. There's a program called Steam, and by installing Steam, you'll be able to play thousands of games. Oh, and by the way, they're all free in most cases. We've gone over a great deal about Linux here in this program. In future programs, we'll talk about internet security, password protection, and the best way to use the operating system, and some of the shortcuts that I've learned along the way, and tips that'll be helpful in getting you up to speed. The LinuxGuy.Guru show is intended to give everyone a deeper understanding of Linux technology. It will expand your Linux knowledge. You'll learn about the kernel, networks, servers, hardware security, and a lot more. And I encourage everyone that is listening to this program to download this episode. To end today's program by thanking you, the listener, for tuning into the LinuxGuy.Guru. If you'd like to contact the show, you can do so by email. The email address is LinuxGuy.Guru@gmail.com. That's LinuxGuy.Guru@gmail.com. And for additional information on Linux, you can go to our website, LinuxGuy.Guru. That's LinuxGuy.Guru. There will also be a YouTube website that can be found by simply going to youtube.com and typing into the search box LinuxGuy.Guru, and the URL for the channel will appear. For those of you listeners who are in the New York City area who want to convert your older computer to a new Linux operating system, for a nominal fee that can be arranged by contacting Jay at his email, LinuxGuy.Guru@gmail.com. At present, the LinuxGuy.Guru will be pre-recorded. The next show will be available on the first Friday in the first week of November. It will air at 8 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Mountain Time, 10 p.m. Central Time, and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. The topic will be Internet security in these turbulent times. This is an episode you don't want to miss. You'll learn things even whistleblower Edward Snowden never told you. As a bonus, I'll share with you what the NSA has to say about Internet security, Wi-Fi, and a whole lot more. So make sure you listen to this program. Your personal freedom and Internet sovereignty may depend on it. And please rate this show on iTunes or Stitcher. Please follow this program. Your support is absolutely necessary in making this program a success. Tell all of your friends about the LinuxGuy.Guru and Blog Talk Radio. In closing, this is your host, Jay Benjamin. Till next time, logging out.